Hi, everybody. How are y'all doing today? So just so I kind of know what type of audience I'm talking to, can y'all tell me how many of you have a parent, mom or dad, grandma or grandpa, that you have, that you're helping take care of? How many of you have somebody that it's coming up really soon? You know you're going to be helping them out. Okay, that's almost everybody. I've been on a long journey with this magazine for 18 years. The industry has changed. The good news is there's so many wonderful resources out there for you today that weren't there 10 years ago. I learn about new ones every day. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of highlight some of the different resources that are out there, things for you to think about, to look into. One thing that I am going to do is I'm going to kind of walk you through the Senior Living Choices magazine. We're just one of many resources. There are a lot of magazines out there. There's a lot of websites out there. This is sort of your beginning place to start. You want to start looking at resources, thinking about what fits your family and their individual needs. I just want to give you some little statistics. There are $33.6 billion lost in productivity in the U.S. annually, with an average cost to you as the employee, $2,011. That's a lot of money to lose out of your income on a monthly, yearly, however long that time frame is. They didn't really give us the numbers that I got were mostly annually. There is an 8% increase in healthcare cost for employed caregivers, totaling $13.4 billion annually. You guys are the caregivers. We're the ones that have to go and take care of mom and dad. But the good news is there's ways to get it taken care of. There's ways to make it work where you can still be productive in your career. You can still make it to work on time with minimal interruptions. So one of the things that I'm going to cover is aging in place. Most every senior I talk to says, I don't want to leave my home. I want to stay here forever. I want to die in my house. I'm sure you are nodding your heads. It's very common. So what do we do to keep mom or dad home? The best thing to do is to, when they start needing help, let's just say they need help with cooking meals. They need help with somebody driving them to the doctor. I think that's the first thing I see that's taken away from older adults, is they can no longer drive. So what you can do is there's personal attendant services. And if you look in the magazine in the beginning, there's some resources that are for personal assistant services. These are companies that can come in and for 2 to 8 hours a day be in the home and help the parent. Some of them just do transportation. Some of them will come in and help them bathe and get ready for the day. They can take them to the doctor. They can do all of those services that are non-medical. Non-medical services are private pay. So you've got to come up with the money to pay for those resources. It can run anywhere from $18 to $26 an hour, depending on the amount of care that they need and what the different attendant companies are charging. It's a great service, though. We used it with our family, and it really alleviated us having to constantly run over there and see what grandma wanted. You're not constantly there trying to pick up the pieces. The attendant service can go, and they can take care of those needs, and that way you can go to work, you can still do what you need to do. If you have any questions as I go through this, please raise your hand. I like interaction. So, another service that is available for these, to pay for this service, is if anyone has served in the military during wartime, there is a program called Aid in Attendance. And they can apply through the VA, and it's kind of a resource that the VA doesn't really promote a whole lot. But they can go in and they can apply and they can get resources to help pay for that service. There's also, and a lot of insurance companies now are allowing people to buy out their life insurance, the cash value out of it. And there's a resource in the magazine called Texas Settlement. She's located in Kerrville, and she can kind of go through that program with you. Another service that's out there that I think is really good is downsizing. One of the things that we find is a lot of people, when they go to visit a retirement community, they will go, I can't move. I have too much stuff. What am I going to do with everything? There are actually services that can come in and help you help your parent downsize. Help them decide who gets the china, what goes to Goodwill, what we're going to move into the community. So there's all sorts of services out there that are available. Another program that is really neat is storage. A lot of times, seniors will want to keep their home. They'll move into a community, whether it be independent living, assisted living, and they don't want to get rid of their stuff, so you can store it 30, 60, 90 days at a time, and then if they decide they want to go ahead and move, then you've already got all the stuff packed and they're ready to move and stay into their new home. So there's a lot of resources out there. And the thing that I've found being in this industry is the people that do these services, they have a passion for seniors. They want to help them. Many of them have walked the journey. They've already been through it with the parent. That's why a lot of them get into this industry. Are there any questions on the private pay part of it? Okay. The next thing is home health. A lot of times parents can live at home, but they have a medical need. That is home health care. It is paid for by Medicare. So Medicare will help reimburse for that service. Then we get into the different types of housing. There are all kinds of different living communities in San Antonio. We're one of the fastest growing areas for new communities. And so there are independent living communities. They are all private pay. A lot of this stuff is private pay. And so a lot of families will go ahead and sell the parents' home, and then they will move into a community, and that way they have the money set aside to pay for those services. The nice thing about independent living is once you move in, you don't need anything. Your meals are included. Your activities are included. They take you on events. There's just all kinds of neat stuff to do. Wood shop. I know one community, they have a competition every week and play pool. The guys love it. They compete against sister properties. So there's always fun things for them to do. Apart from the independent living, there's also senior apartments. They're called affordable housing. So if you have a parent who is low income, maybe they don't have anything, they don't get anything but maybe their Social Security, they can qualify to live in a tax credit property. HUD has given the community tax credits so they can keep the rent low. So you're looking at rents that'll run about $680 up to about $800 to $900, depending on where it is and where that person qualifies. There's also Section 8 housing that's just for seniors in San Antonio. Unfortunately, those have a wait list of about 2 years. And so if you know that you have a parent that is going to be needing to move into that type of housing, I talked to a lady the other day who moved here from Illinois. And she had lived in Section 8 housing up in Illinois, and she called me and she said, I'm looking for an apartment. Can you help me? And I said, well, have you gone through the housing authority? And she said, yeah, I just talked to them. It's going to be 2 years. I need something in the meantime. They're all full. So if you know that you've got some of these resources coming up, it's good to go ahead and start doing the paperwork, start getting those things done. Did you have a question? Or were you just stretching? Okay. Another type of housing that we see a lot of is, along with the independent, now developers are starting to build apartments that are for seniors, but that are considered market rate. So those are going to be apartment communities that cater to the seniors, but they're going to have all the amenities. They're going to have the pool. They're going to have a craft room. They're even going to have people that come in and check on the seniors. So let's say mom or dad needs somebody to come in and just check on them, maybe do a meal. They actually have people that are already contracted to do that on the property. So there's all sorts of resources for that particular type. And then we go into the assisted living and memory care. Those are the two fastest growing housing options in San Antonio right now. There's over 800 units being built, and that's huge. That's a lot of empty beds right now that they're building. But they're getting ready for seniors who are maybe in assisted living that now need to go into memory care. So a lot of those communities have both. And if you look through the magazine, everything is broken up in sections. So you're going to have senior apartments, you're going to have assisted living, and then you're going to have, I even broke out the memory care, because some families don't need the memory care, but they just need the daily assistance. So all of that is in here. There's no prices, guys. It's because you're going to need to call them. You're going to need to visit the community. Some assisted living can run anywhere from $2,500 up to $3,500 per month. Memory care, they start around $5,000 a month. And that's all private pay. Unless the family member has long-term care insurance or they have a pension or benefit that they got when they were working, that's kind of the prices that you're looking at. And so that's why a lot of families sell their home so that they can pay for that additional care. And then the other thing that we have, of course, is skilled nursing. Skilled nursing is paid for by Medicare. A lot of families will go into a skilled nursing facility just for rehab. Maybe they'll have knee replacement or a hip replaced. And Medicare will pick that up. And, of course, there is Medicaid for the nursing home. So do y'all have any questions that y'all want to ask? Go ahead.
So you kind of touched upon it. You said there's long-term insurance. Is there an insurance plan that parents provide earlier on to help pay for these costs? Is there still a cost?
We need to get it now. I recommend, most of the insurance companies are trying to write insurance when you're in your 40s and 50s before you start having any health problems. I did find out from a gentleman who was, he was a non-commissioned officer, and when he retired, and he retired young, like at 45, they went ahead and got him to buy a long-term care policy. And apparently this happened, I know, back for World War II, and some of the Vietnam veterans, those who were career, they were encouraged to go ahead and buy long-term care. So what we're finding is a lot of people have just been paying it all these years, $100, $200 a month, and just knew it was insurance. And so what's happening is when they need health care brought into the home, they'll come in, and when they start talking to the family about ways to pay for the care, they'll go, was your parent in the service? Is there an insurance policy that you might be paying for? And they're finding policies that are there and available for them. They just don't think about it. It was something they had, something they were told to get. So you kind of have to talk to the parents. Once you get over, I'm finding about 65, it's just so expensive. It's very expensive. And a lot of the long-term care policies that are being sold now, they're only for a few years. So if you don't have it now, you might want to go ahead and get it. I don't know if that's a benefit y'all have here at your workplace. It's certainly something that you might want to check on. A lot of people just open up a bucket of money. They just start putting money aside, if they can afford to pay for this care later on. So I talked about another benefit earlier before you guys came in. A lot of people are y'all familiar with reverse mortgages? That's another product that's out there where you can actually get care in the home for a parent. They can get a reverse mortgage. They're not going to lose their home, but they can borrow the equity that's in it. There's different factors that they look at, different formulas, and a lot of times that's money they can use to take care of a parent. So what I have a friend who did a reverse mortgage on her home, and dad lived in the home, but mom had memory care. She needed to be in a memory care community, which is the $5,000 to $6,000 a month. But they were able for him to live at home, keep the house, and that money that they were able to borrow against was paying for her care. So there's all kinds of different things that are out there that you can do to help your parents. You just have to start making the calls and asking the questions. And hopefully this will be a good starting point, for you as you kind of go through that journey. I do recommend that everybody visit communities before they move a parent in. And you can also go to the Department on Aging and Disabilities. They have a website that you can look at their rating. Every single community has to have a license if they're assisted living, memory care, and skilled. And by that license, they will come in and they get audited every year. They come in and they make sure that everything's being done per their licensing. And so you can actually go online and look at a community and see what their last safety visit was. You can find out if they had any violations. And a lot of the communities, when they get 100% on their reports, they'll actually publish it in their ads. So that's kind of something to keep your eye open for. And Senior Living Choices, I just done the local magazine. There is a national website. So if you have family members that are out of state, you can always go to our website and look at other communities and other services in some of the different areas. Any other questions? Yes?
You were talking about the apartments and being the rate that they were and everything. That's really not that cheaper than regular apartments anywhere. But what about the Section 8 ones?
The Section 8, I've seen them run $300. It just depends. When you get into Section 8 housing, it's based on a percentage of your whatever you make. And so the tax credit properties are based on your income as well, but there's a maximum and a minimum. So you have to make a minimum amount in Social Security or any kind of annuities or anything that you've invested in. And they only look at 2% of your assets. So let's say that someone has Social Security and maybe they get a small pension, then they might qualify for the tax credit. That's at the high end, what I'm quoting you. There are some people that pay $500, $400, $300. I've seen rents as low as $300. It just depends on what their income is. But the lady that I was talking to that moved here from Illinois, I think she told me she was paying $350 to $400 up there. So she was looking for that amount. But that's why you have to get them on the wait list, because you have to get them approved, and they can go back and look 4 years at your income. So it's a good thing to start that paperwork. And there are a lot of communities in San Antonio that have that type of housing. The problem is they're not building them fast enough for our population. The population's aging faster than they can get them approved, and HUD controls the dollars. So we have to just hope that HUD frees up more money. I'm seeing a lot of communities built up in Kerrville. Some of the rural areas is where they're building right now, because there's more, HUD is freeing up more dollars in those areas. And these developers have to bid for these dollars. They have to bid to get these credits so that they can build these communities. They're beautiful. The amenities are there. They're safe. A lot of them are gated. They have all the benefits and all the amenities that you would find on a regular market rate property that's $1,100 to $1,100 and up. Any other questions?
What's the difference between
There's assisted living. Assisted living, if you want the actual definitions, assisted living is where you just need help with your ADLs. So your ADLs are bathing, cooking, light housekeeping. Most of those residents, let's see what else is there. You have to still be ambulatory. And so most of those communities, they're not having the memory issues. Once you get into the memory care, they've actually been diagnosed with some sort of dementia. And so it can be early signs of Alzheimer's. And that's really what we're seeing a lot. Now, what some communities will do is they'll have assisted living and they'll have a memory care wing. And we see a lot of that. And that's really beneficial if you have mom and dad who both need to move into a community together. Maybe one of them doesn't need the ADLs, but maybe dad needs to be in the dementia wing. They can actually accommodate them so they're still living in the same property. I see a lot of families where mom lives at one community and dad has to live at a different one based on their needs. So they're building those. Yes, meals are included, snacks. And if they have dietary restrictions, usually they have a dietitian on staff who will help them, kind of gear them towards whatever their dietary needs are. The assisted living, they start around $3,500 and go up. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's expensive. But you kind of look at it too, and when you go visit these communities, one of the things they'll do is they'll have a form, and they'll ask you, what are you used to paying for utilities? What are you used to paying for insurance for your home? What are you used to paying for car insurance? They look at all of the expenses that you've been paying all these years. A lot of times you'll end up coming out less expensive moving into a community because of the overhead that you don't realize. You just do it. You write those checks because, the washing machine breaks. You write a check. The dishwasher goes out. You write a check. So when you put all those together and suddenly you're living in a community where it's 100% maintenance free, all you have to do is they'll come in and clean your apartment. They'll do your laundry for you. They do all of that stuff for you. You don't have to do anything but just enjoy living. So a lot of times it balances out. I kind of did it on myself just to kind of see the difference. I need to move. I need to move. So, you just have to, every family it's unique, and luckily the staff at the communities, they are trained to sit down with you and go over these things and just kind of break it down. And some offer more. Some have a flat fee. Some charge a little bit more based on the level of care that the parent needs. So you just have to check out each one. And there is a service out there. It's called a senior locator. And they will actually do the work for you. They sit down with you, they sit down with your parent, and they'll go do all the research and come back to you and say, okay, here are some choices. They get paid by the communities. So let's say they go to a community down the street. That community will pay them a fee for bringing a resident in. So they're very educated on what's out there, and they can kind of customize what fits for your parent. So that's a really good service as well, and it'll keep you from having to take time off from work.
What's the name of the service?
It's called a senior locator service. Mm-hmm. We have several in the magazine. They're in that very first section in the front. And that's a really good service. A lot of times if I can't find something for a family, because I get calls all the time where people are moving here because I'm the publisher, my name's in the front. I'll get the phone call and they'll ask me questions. Sometimes it's spot on. I can say, you live in this side of town, these are the communities that you want to go visit because this fits. But sometimes they get into more complicated needs, and so from there, I'll actually recommend that they use a locator. And there's probably, I'd say, 6 or 7 just here in San Antonio. Anything else? Okay. I also do an Exceptional Kids magazine. It's a resource guide if anyone needs resources for children who might need information on, maybe they need some help. They've got ADHD, they're autistic, they've got some speech or learning disabilities. We also have that resource. I have those in the back, so y'all feel free to pick that up if you need that resource as well. All righty, thank you so much. I appreciate y'all having me today.